So does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Last time you were talking about material versus interpretation. I was curious if you could expand on that.
Yeah, the terminology, I use the terminology material interpretation to kind of define a show in general. What I find is that the material, just to get a basic understanding of it, the material is the material, okay? And you will do, if you become a professional, you'll do the same material over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, okay? The problem becomes when you can that material, which means you're doing the same interpretation of that material. Okay, the timing is the same. You've kind of imposed it upon it. It always goes a certain way. You always use a certain voice inflection on that joke. You always use that same emotion. Use that same body language, that same look and take. That's canning it. Okay, because the interpretation of the show has been pre-decided. Okay, a lot of times from just performing it so much that you kind of know what's the best range, but then you get lazy with it and now you're just giving that canned performance, which means you're doing the same material and the same interpretation of that material. Whereas I think, personally, it's a whole lot more fun to never can or set your material, but to always reinterpret it for the people that are in front of you. Find a different rhythm with them that's just for them. Find out what emotion works better for them. Try a different take, try a different body language, try a completely different approach for each individual audience, and you'll get better at kind of reading them and finding out what fits their funny bone, what works best for them. Rather than you imposing, I see it all the time. I can tell when a show's canned because the timing is micro off from the audience, how they're laughing and stuff. The person's either cutting off the laughs too soon or letting the laugh go too long because that's the way they've gotten used to doing it. And I'm saying what I'm trying to teach you to do about being present in the relationship's the most important thing is to hear and feel and if you can, see the audience, but find that rhythm with each one of them so all those micro things are different from show to show to show to show, okay? The material will be essentially the same, but when you make the interpretation unique for each individual audience, the audience will know that they're having an impact on the show and it's specialized for them, especially if you do tailoring and like ma'am, I'm sure you understand the little phrases like that to make the show personal. It's so much more interesting for the audience because they feel that, they're flattered that you're actually creating a show for them and they'll know the difference. As opposed to the ones who just, here's what I present. I present the same interpretation and the same material. Okay, and it'll work. So people don't really look at it. What I'm trying to get you to do is get in that relationship and that rhythm with this audience to find out what works best for them. And they'll start to follow you as you follow them. It's reciprocal that way. Most people use rehearsal to decide how the material is going to go and the interpretation of that material. Most people use rehearsal that way. So they're at home, so they rehearse the words and they rehearse the interpretation. Now for me, that's as silly as a surfer standing on the beach deciding how he or she is going to ride that future wave. They're going, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. They get up on, they're going to fall right off. They're going to fail. Because the only way to ride a wave is you get up on it and you make decisions from moment to moment to moment, and still you fail and fall off. But the best way to ride a wave is get up on it and adjust as you ride that wave, just as you need to kind of ride the energy and the rhythms with each individual audience, which I find is the best way to be funny, have success the majority of the time.